the very lovely Christine Campbell Rapin. And Christine Campbell Rapin is an energetic and straightforward business advisor, mentor, and consultant with over 25 years in experience in marketing, sales, and operations. She is the founder of Clear Acceleration Inc. and an international best-selling co-author. Christine believes that business success can be achieved with simple, focused strategies, and she has helped many companies to grow and thrive. And in today's talk, Christine will be showing you how to focus on 3 key activities every day to see steady client growth. So without further ado, I'm going to skip off and tune into Christine. Thank you for joining us, Christine.
Thank you, Jen. It's nice to see you and Eric. And that's funny with the last name, honestly. It's such a short name that I acquired through my marriage. And it's funny, people are like, I don't get it. Like, it's Rapin, like Rapin music. But if you were like my father-in-law, he'd be like, Rapin, it's French. I'm like, yes, but most of us are not. Yeah. So welcome, everybody. I am here to help show you the pathway to repeatable success. And I will tell you, I got to tell you where this all started. I want you to know right out of the gate that I never set out to be a business mentor. It wasn't like I got up one random day and said, I'm going to go do this. It wasn't that at all. And I will tell you that your business dreams are not going to come in a rainbow package with a bow on the day that's convenient. My business journey started, it was 2018. And I have lived in 5 countries, 30 cities, some more than once. And someone reached out to me on LinkedIn that I haven't spoken to in 10 years. Someone I was not social with, but an office colleague, and said, I don't know how you went from the beauty industry to cop cars and ambulances. I'm sure there's a good story there, but you always struck me as somebody who wanted to build a business. And I'd like to have a conversation because I'm doing something that might interest you. And I was so curious that I was like, I can't believe you remember my name. Of course, I want to have a conversation with you. And we got on a call, and I did not get out of bed on a Wednesday to start my first business. And by Friday, I was full of the excuses. I didn't have time. I didn't have money. I had every typical excuse you as a solopreneur have ever walked through. I was having that conversation in my head. And I was about to say no to the decision that would change my life. I was brushing my teeth. And then I heard myself and I was like, wow, who are you being? You're justifying starting something that could change your life for a pretty inconsequential amount of money. Because truthfully, I'd spent more money on pizza for the kids and the family the day before. And if I'd walked by a red handbag in a window, I would have bought that red handbag. So it was not a money conversation. I was scared. I was scared that I would have to start to do this for myself. And I looked in my mirror as I was brushing my teeth, and I was like, that's not who I want to be. So in a nanosecond, I sent a WhatsApp message and said, I'm in. I don't even know what this means. And I sent it, and then I went down to the kitchen, and I was about to be married. I was soon to be engaged 3 months before the wedding. And my then fiance was making coffee. And I said, by the way, babe, I've just started a business. And he's like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I just left you brushing your teeth. Like, I don't understand. How did you start a business from brushing your teeth to like walking down the stairs? And I said, I did. And he's like, okay, well, we're about to be married. Like, you should have a conversation with me about these things. And we heard Eileen talk about this partner conversation. And truthfully, I said to him, it didn't occur to me to consult you because I have been single all of my life. And if there's rule books on being married, I should probably get a copy. And I'll spend the next 90 days reading it because if there's rules, I should know what they are. And he said, okay, well, I get it. It's about you. How do I support you in this? And I said, I want an hour a day. And he said, I can give you an hour a day. And I said, you can watch the Friends reruns with our kids, 2 episodes. Well, I'm going to go grow my business. And that's how the business journey started in 2018. Because I was epically successful at building client growth, people kept inviting me to coffee or glasses of wine, depending on how you know me, and saying, how do you actually do this? Because I'm exhausting myself as a solopreneur and I'm not seeing results. And I'm watching you still spend weekends on the mountains, planning a wedding, traveling 40% of your time for a job that took me all over Canada. What the hell? I said, I'm not Superwoman and I'm not a unicorn. I just know how the way business is run. So I'm going to gift you this in my talk today. I'm going to take you from fractured to focus. I'm going to show you how every business on the planet, whether your dreams are to stay working just with yourself and your clients, or whether you have $1 million business in your future. This is the golden ticket that I spent 30 years getting, and you don't have to buy me coffee or a glass of wine. So who's up? Hands in if you're ready for the shortcut to success. I love it. Thank you, Robert. Okay, this is how it goes. Guys, I want to ask you, because this is the truth of what I know. There are only 3 reasons you do not have the business you want yet. And the fact that you're in this session and you're in this event makes me know for a fact you want more clients, more revenue, more life that supports your dream. So I want you to pop into the chat. This is your opportunity to come play with me. What are you at right now? Because if you want to go somewhere, it's important that you know where you are. And there's zero judgment about where you are. It's a stake in the sand, so which you take a first step from. So the first reason you do not have the client growth you want is because you're saying, I don't know how to do this. I actually don't know where to find my clients. I don't know what to say to move them. And I just honestly have this knowledge gap. I want it, but I don't know how. So if you're getting up every day going, I just don't know how to do this, and you're feeling stressful about that, I want you to put a number 1 in the chat that said, I have a knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow a business. I don't know how to find clients. And trust me, I will tell you good news. We can solve that. I'm actually going to show you how to do that in the next 20 minutes. Simple. But number 1, if you're popping in what? Thank you, Zini. I appreciate you putting in chat number 1. So that's you. If you're like, I have a knowledge gap. Number 2, if you're in this place where you're thinking, I do know how, been around the block, I've maybe had some success or success in a previous life before I decided to become a solopreneur, but something isn't working as effectively as I want. I don't have confidence that I know where my next client is coming from. And so there's a blind spot. You're like, I'm doing the things. I'm doing all the things. And truthfully, I don't know what's going to hit the yes. And I'm a bit scared and I'm wobbly because my bills don't show up inconsistently. They show up every damn month. And it's stressful because it's been a dry spell. I haven't had a client since January, or I haven't had a client since last year. And I'm scared. But you have a blind spot. So this is number 2. You're saying, I know what to do. I'm doing it. It's not working as well as I'd like, but I'm not sure what to change. Because if I knew what to change, I'd just go change it, truthfully, which means I'm not really sure. And I love it. We're having all kinds of 2s pop into the chat. This is common. I will tell you, you have a blind spot. You're going to have a second set of eyes. I'm offering mine to take a look and help you see the forest for the trees, because we cannot sell ourselves. I'm a great marketer and I'm a great marketer for other people, but I don't do what I know I should do because I have my own blind spots. But that's number 2. Okay. So you either number 1, I don't know how, or 2, I know how and it's not working very well or as well as I would like. And here's number 3. Number 3 is I know what to do. And I'm just being completely honest, I don't do it. I am just in my own way. I'm waiting for it to be convenient. I'm waiting for the kids to go to school, the dog not to eat my homework. I'm waiting for every excuse under the sun, but I'm just not doing it. It's not a priority. And that's an uncomfortable truth. But if you're number 3, I want you to do number 3. Thank you, Roosevelt, for telling me you're number 3. Totally, I said zero shame around this, 2 and 3. If you're in a number 3, this is what I will tell you. This is what I know. You're not winning enough. Because if you were in a business where you were winning, that means getting results, and it felt like oxygen to you, you wouldn't struggle to take your next breath. So it shows to me that either there's something off in it doesn't feel like oxygen, and truthfully, I don't want it. Well, let me tell you, I'm a business mentor. I help 400 clients create $1 billion. This is, as I said, the shortcut to $1 billion. It's not an issue that I can solve for you. You have to be the spark that lights the fire, but you can add fuel sources around you to help you win. This is a fuel source. This summit is a fuel source. But good news for all 3. It does not matter whether you were a 1, 2, or 3. Now know where you are. I'm going to say I am going to invite you to move. So those of you who wanted to see this on screen because you are a person who learns by visual, take a screenshot, keep this handy. I ask myself this question every month. Where am I at in my business? What am I doing or not doing? And what do I need to solve? Because everything is a solvable problem. So let me ask you this, because here's another tell. I know we're in a summit, but go back to Monday when we were not in the summit. What was your number one priority? Pop it in the chat for you to accomplish on that day. When you got out of bed, think, if I did this one thing today, I know I moved the needle forward in my business. I feel like I accomplished something in my business, and I feel good that I'm on track to create a successful business. What kinds of things are you prioritizing? Pop it in the chat. Think back to Monday. What was on your task list? What did you feel like? Woohoo, check mark. I feel great. I did that. Writing a series of voiceover scripts. I reached out to the leads on the weekend. What else are you doing? Are you writing a blog, writing an email? She was doing accounting. I hope you're an accountant. If that's the case, I want you to think about what your priorities were, because let me tell you what your number one priority should have been. Offers. We just had a conversation right before me on the speaker before me. They were talking about sales. Your number one priority is to make an offer every single day. I'm going to show you what an offer looks like. So a lot of people are bamboozled and confused about what an offer is. But when you're making the offer, the other real lightning rod question I have for you is, do you think when you make an offer, you're the likable expert, or are you the must-hire expert? If you're not winning and you're not sure where to do this, chances are you might have people that are liking you a heck of a lot, but it might be a bit like you're on Mount Everest struggling to breathe a bit if you're not the must-hired choice. Thank you for your honesty, Robert, about being likable. The key here, when you leave today, and you will hear it in your brain from evermore of me, is I want you to be the must-hire. I want you to be well-liked, don't get me wrong. But getting well-liked and being liked and not paid is not the goal, because you can't create the ripples, you can't create the results, and you can't create that real stability that you want if you are liked but not hired. And I can see this when you get caught in the slow lane. And slow lane is where you go bankrupt. It's where you go broke, and I don't want you there. Let's get you out of it. So here is the gold nugget. Here's how business works. Business on the planet, regardless of industry, on average works in about a 90-day cycle. Some businesses are faster, and yes, some are slower, but this is a good benchmark to get your head around, which means the activity you took today in June, back on Monday, will grow to a yes if you've got a good plan and you're executing it well in 90 days. So if you are not in activity now, you have a danger zone coming in September. And I tell people clearly, Q2, the North America wide here, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, flip this time frame. Q2 is the most dangerous quarter for a solopreneur in the year, and we're in it right now. Because if you have not had a good Q1, means you did not have client growth in Q2. Because you didn't have client growth in Q2, you started to think the weather's getting warmer, I'm getting more daylight, my kids are out of school, I'm going to take time off. And you're not taking time off because it's planned. You're taking time off because you have capacity. Capacity is a solvable problem. I take time off in my business 12 months of the year, but I don't stall my business in the summer because I didn't have clients. And if you don't make activity in Q2, you will not have activity and clients in September. So here's your wake-up call. 2 things will predict your revenue. These are the 2 things you must focus on every day. Number 1, your business will be built on strangers. Okay, nobody tells you this. Let me tell you now, in case anybody's not sure, your business will be built on strangers. So you need to have a strategy and a plan to get in front of more people, more ways, more often, but it's not just any visibility that matters. Your ability to get in front of people who have the potential to be your buyer is everything, which means you got to damn know who the buyer is. I'm going to talk about that today as well. But so you have to be recognizing that you have to have a plan to get in front of strangers who have the potential, interest, and desire to buy your product. What's really, really important here is not that they're going to buy it someday, it's that they're going to buy it today. Because if you're a likable expert, that's a someday client, and I told you you're going broke on that pathway. Get off it. Number 2 is that it is up to you to make the offer, because money will only move hands in your business if you make the offer. An offer is not a social media post. I've got a program. If you're interested, come find me. It's not a talk where you show up and say, if you want to come find me, I'll be at the back of the room. You have to be clear that when I make an offer in my business, I say these words. We had a conversation. We've usually had many. And I said, it sounds like there's a problem. What result are you looking for? And they would tell me the result. I said, why is that valued to you? Heard that from Eileen. It's got to be valued by the buyer. I said, it sounds like I can help you with that. Would you like me to make you an offer? Like, I actually say those words so that everybody's clear an offer is coming. Because if you don't lead the offer, you will not see results. You will not see cash, which means, yes, you're going to get your head around selling, because selling, I said to you 3 slides ago, was your number 1 responsibility. Anytime your business is in trouble, i.e. you feel like you're on oxygen or need oxygen, you should go back to this simple slide. Take a screenshot if you haven't already, because this will be the pulse check of your business. And if you are not in activity now, I want to light your engine that said, this is what I'm doing, to the exclusion of everything else. It's not a newsletter. It's not a font. It's not a graphic. It's not anything else but you in conversation with strangers and identifying the buyer and leading a buyer to a next step that will grow your business. Every business on the planet, whether you're selling a $3 thing or a $300,000 thing, whether you are a product-based business or a service-based business, this is the predictor of your cash. And anytime you're in trouble, go back and audit this. So this is a piece of thought. I want you to think about it. If you're brave, pop it into the chat. In the last 30 days, how many people did you meet that had the potential to be your buyer and you have identified them as such? Not just who did you meet, how many people. I'm saying how many people were buyers or potential buyers for you, and how many offers did you make? Because here's what my business mentor tells me. Every month you need 60 new people in your network. You need 30 people you've identified as buyers, and you need 8 yeses to have a scalable business to $1 million. Like, it's a lot more than you think. So the business math matters. And ask yourself this: who are you spending your time with, and what are you focusing on? Because chances are you just went course correction right now. You're welcome. Let's keep going. So I told you, it's not just about anybody. It's about finding the buyer. Okay, this is a really important distinction, and I don't think you hear this often. So I really hope you're paying attention. Stop the distractions if you are distracted. Buyers are a small subset. That's why it feels like you might be a needle in a haystack. And that's what it feels like as a solopreneur. It does, because buyers are a small group. Buyers on average are 3% of the visible audience on any given day. So you're looking for a needle in a haystack. But that's why you've got to get a system in place so that system starts creating predictable results, because haphazard spaghetti on the wall is why you do the hokey pokey, and an object in motion stays in motion more easily than an object from zero. Why did I keep getting invitations for coffee and glasses of wine? Because I stayed in motion 1 hour a day, non-negotiable. 1 hour beat 60 hours this week, 0 hours next week, 100 hours the week after, 20 hours the week after. 1 hour, guys, you can build your business in 1 hour. It's not about time. It's about focus. So here's what you're looking for: the buyer of today. What do you mean by buyers of the 3%? So if there was 100 people in the room, only 3 people are ready to say yes today. You've got to find those 3 in 100. And you need to do it every day, because 3% today and 3% tomorrow and 3% the day after and 3% the day after all compounds, which means you will find hundreds of people over the year if you stay focused on finding the 3 every single day, which means go meet more strangers and make more offers. So buyers have 3 characteristics, and this is where most people get stuck. First off, your buyer is already problem aware, which means your job is not to convince or educate somebody on a problem they don't yet know exists. So many people think their role is to educate and to share knowledge, and that's why you're a likable expert. You're going to try to convince somebody, and that's a long runway. You can, yes, but it's a long runway. I hope you've got lots of bankroll to keep you going. If I'm already problem aware, two things happen. I've tried to solve it, probably more than once. I have a repeating problem. Your business should always be about a repeating problem, not once in a blue moon, if you want to have stable cash. So because I have a problem, I've tried to solve it. I've Googled it. I've Pinterested it. I've YouTubed it. I've chat GPT'd it. I've asked questions to knowledge banks and said, solve it for me. And I got the knowledge. But guess what? I didn't fix the problem, which means I am still searching. So you are looking for somebody who's aware they have a problem and they're seeking a solution, which means they're curious. And your job is to find somebody who's curious, because you have a better chance of moving them than somebody you're starting from zero who isn't even aware that they've got a problem. Fast path to cash here, my friends. That's what I'm helping you with. Fast path to cash. So they are seeking, which means they're aware, because they've drawn a line in the sand 100 times, that I'm going to need help and I'm going to have to put in effort and it's going to be uncomfortable. Like, I have an awareness of that. I don't love it, but I'm honest. And a buyer is pretty honest that they're up the creek without a paddle and they need help. So the third thing is, when I'm up a creek without a paddle, I'm committed to finding a solution, which means I'm going to do the work. I mean, the best thing about a business is to find a client who really wants the result and is willing to do the work, because the client gets the result. Your job is not to convince somebody to do the work. You've got to be aware that they've got to hold that commitment. I told you that when I came into the room. You have to light the fire. I can be your fuel source, but I can't light the fire for you. I won't, because you and I will both be frustrated by that, and it doesn't win because no results get happening. So I want you to be thinking about right now, and feel free to pop it into the chat. Right now, are you talking to buyers in your day-to-day conversations? Do they already know they have a problem? Do they already know that they're seeking a solution, and are they committed to change? Because I will tell you, most of the time why offers do not get to yes is because you're not actually talking to the buyer. They're talking to the someday buyer, not the buyer of today. I want you to find the person that says, holy crap, I gotta have that, because I am so done. My excuses, I can't live in the cycle. And so this is really important. Thank you, Robert, for your comment here. I'm talking to eventual buyers, not current buyers. This awareness is critical. So again, take a screenshot if you haven't already, and put this on a Post-it note right in your desk, because you are looking for the buyer. And that means you have to get into activity. You have to find more people, more ways, more often. And you got to track. Old school, if you are like me, I have a whiteboard and a paper that said, there's 17 people I know that I've met in the last 3 weeks that have the potential to be buyers for me. And I'm nurturing them and I'm moving them forward. But business is math. I have a plan, and the plan creates all the stress coming down. So you got to know who the buyer is, because once you know the buyer, here's what you do. Here's the action plan. Okay. This is the 3 things that every business owner needs to get their head around. These are muscles we build. Number 1, you've got to know who you're looking for. That's a personal choice. I think of it like an intersection point. Okay. If you think about a line of sand and somebody's on a continuum, what they need in the start is different than what they need in the middle. It's different when they need at the end. You get to decide as a business owner who you're working with. A person right at this intersection point, or a person at this intersection point, or a person at this intersection point. That's a choice, but you got to make that choice. It's the decision that starts your engine, because I'm clear what's going on at that moment in time with the purple person who I'm looking for, that's Googling, Pinteresting, ChatGPTing. I'm making all these verbs up. Hope you're entertained. You got to know who you're looking for. Identify them first. And what you're looking for is the pattern of a spin. So somebody who has a repeating problem does what? They white knuckle them way through it like they're Thomas the Tank. And they're like, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. It's not so bad. This doesn't last forever. I can do this. But your job is to observe that spin and go, let me slow it down, stop it, or simply bump into it. Because the moment you do, you rattle their cage in a good way, not creepy, not mean, not just, don't get fear-based here. Say, it looks like you're in a spin. I want you to just know, or do you know, that that spin is optional? And they're going to go, what? Like, I'm so in my own pattern, in my own comfort zone, and I know it doesn't serve me, but what? Tell me more. And you start to change the direction. That's what business is. That's what marketing is. That's the whole goal, is to move somebody. That's number one. But you've got to be able to see the pattern. And your number one goal is just to see it, bump into it, and start somebody moving, which is number two. Your ability to move somebody from curious to paid client is the making of your success story. Okay, that's a strategy requirement. I don't care what tactic you use. I don't care if you use SEO, search engines, paid ads, a website, networking, or a host of things. The tactic is not the problem. All the tactics work, and they're working for somebody. Whether if they're going to work for you or not comes down to what's your plan. You have to have a plan. And you got to remember that because your client is spinning, your next client is spinning, you've got to slow it down. Most businesses don't. You talk at your client instead of with your client. You judge them, criticize them because you've been told that talk to the pain is good marketing advice. It's not helpful. Don't do it. Your job is to slow it down and meet them where they are, because they're not looking for a unicorn and a full meal deal. Not that they don't want that, but they're not looking for it. They're looking for a small win. And your idea is to see it, understand it, and move them towards the win. But strategy is key. I take my clients through 4 questions in the strategy piece. Who are you? What do you stand for? Why are you the right hire? Where do you want to play? And what makes you the winner in that space? Those are simple questions. Nobody asks them. And I will tell you, you can get to the first 6 figures of any business with grit and tenacity. You cannot sustain it, and you cannot get to the next 6 figures without this, a plan. A plan that creates the engine, a system that creates predictability, and it is so much simpler than you're making it. Who are they? What do they want? How will you move them? Piece number 3 is the non-negotiable is it's up to you to lead the offer, because your buyer is scared. They've tried and failed repeatedly to solve a problem, which means they're fragile, doubting, and uncertain. If you simply passive aggressively post on social media, I have a solution, come find it, they won't. It's up to you to say, I see the pattern, I empathize, I want you to know, curiously, there's another reality. Would you like to know more? Yep, that feels safe. Your job is to create safety. And people, when they come into your space and say, Christine, make me an offer, I know that you're borrowing my confidence. I know where I'm going. So you as a business owner have to have confidence. You know where you're going. You have to know what you stand for and the result you can deliver. Because it's up to you to lead the offer, which says, I'm scared and you're scared, but one of us has to go first. It's you. Okay, let me just say this again. It's you. It's up to you to lead the offer, because nobody buys your stuff because you've got great content and you've got great graphics. They buy you. And it's hard to see our own value. I know that. That's why clients come in to work with me. That's why my business is actually called Clear Acceleration, because if you get clear, you will move. But here's an important piece. So if people are buying you, what do you need to be, do, have, and communicate that gets them to the next step? Well, you need to understand what they want. So often the reason I see businesses fail is because you're justifying yourself, because you're scared and you're wobbly and you're new. I get it, but it's irrelevant. What matters is the eyes of the buyer. What does your client value? And you've got to put yourself in their shoes, because they know they have to do work and they're scared, But you selling them a unicorn is interesting, but I'm not going to get out my credit card. So you can make it smaller. You can give it stepping stones. You can make it feel safe. And they're going, I'm prepared to hold your hand. So please do go hold people's hands. Help them. These 3 steps, every business on the planet needs. And the quicker you can build these muscles, the more successful you will be long-term. And I said, I've helped 400 companies create $1 billion with this principle. There are actually 2 more, just so you know what's coming, but they're not relevant if you haven't mastered these 3, because these are foundations. And foundations provide the framework that you need to make decisions that call you on a course correction and that help you measure your money. 4, in case you're curious, is influence. You've got to be able to move yourself from brushing your teeth down to the coffee to tell your husband you started a business. You've got to move your client who's uncomfortable, knowing they need help, to the result they want. And you've got to be able to move your vendors and negotiate anything that helps them do that. Influence is number 4. And number 5 is you got to keep profit. And I don't care if you're a profit business or a not-for-profit, your goal is to create income so you can do great things with income. So my last thing is find your gap. Find your gap. Because in the gap is where you will create the magic. And in the world of business, I will tell you the simplest way to get off the crazy train is to recognize the 80-20. If you focus on the 2 things I told you will predict your revenue, you will not have to do all the other stuff. Honestly, you will not have to do all the other stuff. You get to pick your lane, and everything you want is on the other side of fear. Everything. I have 100% certainty your next buyer is out there. I have 100% certainty they are searching. If you're not being found, you have to solve that problem. And I will tell you, in my business, it is so elegantly simple. We run that play. Who's the buyer? How are we moving them? What are we creating the offer? And we go back and we measure the math that says, did I meet strangers? Do I know who the buyer is? And am I moving them forward? This is how you go to fracture to focus. Hands in if you want that. A business that runs. This is how you do it. All right, I want to open it up to questions. I've got some goodies to help you, but I want to give you the opportunity because I saw there were some questions about the 3%, and I know I did answer it, but I want to make sure it's really addressed. Everybody in the room is not your buyer, okay? The greatest thing around the business world I know is most of us are looking for anywhere from 5 to 30 people to play with a year. We're not looking for 8 million or 8 billion people on the planet. We're trying to find the people who get us, who are ready, who met those 3 criteria and are going to say yes when we say, would you like us to make you an offer? But the great thing is the 3% today are going to be the 3% different tomorrow and the 3% different the next day. If you stay into this activity, you get off the crazy train of the roller coaster of emotions. That's how it's done.
Thank you so much. That's just been, I've still been scribbling notes. That's been delightful. Thank you very, very much for joining us, and thank you for sharing with our attendees some just wonderful things to implement from the get-go. So thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Awesome.